The apartment was quiet that evening, the kind of quiet that feels heavy rather than peaceful. Sarah stood at the kitchen counter, slicing tomatoes for a salad neither of them would eat with much appetite. Mark was in the living room, scrolling through his phone, the blue light casting shadows across his face. They had been married 7 years, long enough for silences to become familiar, but lately those silences carried something new, distance. It started small. A few months ago, Mark began taking work calls in the bedroom with the door closed. "I just need space," he'd said one night when Sarah knocked softly to ask if he wanted coffee. "These client calls are intense, and I concentrate better without background noise." She'd nodded, understanding. His job in marketing had always demanded long hours, late calls, sudden trips. She was a graphic designer who worked from home. She knew the rhythm of deadlines and pressure. But the closed door became a habit. Then came the weekends he spent catching up at the office. Then the way he angled his phone away when a notification lit the screen. Sarah told herself she wasn't the suspicious type. She trusted him. They had built a life together. Photos from their honeymoon in Santorini still lined the hallway. Their dog Milo still slept curled between them most nights. Trust wasn't something you threw away over a hunch. That changed on a rainy Thursday in November. Mark had left his phone on the dining table while he showered. It buzzed twice. Sarah glanced over, meaning only to silence it so it wouldn't disturb him. The lock screen showed an email notification, "Read tonight," from Elena Vargas. Sarah's heart gave a strange lurch. Elena was Mark's colleague, the sharp, ambitious account director he'd mentioned in passing. They'd been paired on the new campaign for months. She didn't mean to open it. Her thumb hovered, then tapped before her better sense could stop her. The email chain loaded. "Elena, can't wait for tonight. Same place. Mark, 3 hours earlier, yeah. 8 works. I'll tell Sarah I have a late call with the Singapore team. Elena, perfect. Bring that smile I've missed all week." Sarah stared at the words until they blurred. The shower was still running. She scrolled up. There were dozens of messages, some professional at first, then shifting. Late-night check-ins that turned into inside jokes. Compliments that grew bolder. A photo Elena had sent 2 weeks ago, her in a black dress at some work event, caption "Thinking of you." Mark had replied with a single fire emoji, "And you look incredible." The water shut off. Sarah locked the phone and set it exactly where it had been, her hands trembling. When Mark emerged in sweatpants, towel drying his hair, she was at the sink washing the same knife over and over. "Everything okay?" he asked, kissing the top of her head as he passed. "Fine," she managed. "Just tired." That night she lay awake beside him, listening to his breathing even out into sleep. Her mind replayed every closed door, every vague excuse, every time he'd come home smelling faintly of a perfume she didn't recognize. The trust she guarded so carefully felt suddenly fragile, like something made of spun glass. The next day, Mark left for work as usual. Sarah sat at her desk but couldn't focus. She opened her laptop and, before she could talk herself out of it, searched Elena Vargas on LinkedIn. The profile photo was professional, dark hair pulled back, confident smile. Sarah hated how beautiful she was. She hated that she hated it. She told herself to wait, to talk to him, to be rational. But rationality felt impossible when her chest ached with every heartbeat. That evening Mark texted, "Running late, client dinner. Home by 10 probably. Love you." Sarah stared at the message. "Love you." The same sign-off he'd used for years. She typed back, "Okay, have a good one." Then she put Milo's leash on and walked in the cold until her fingers went numb. When she returned, the apartment felt too small. She poured a glass of wine and sat on the couch, staring at nothing. At 9:47 her phone buzzed, an unknown number. A text, "Is this Sarah?" "It's Elena. We need to talk." Sarah's stomach dropped. She almost didn't reply. Then, "How did you get my number?" "Elena, Mark's phone. He's in the shower. I saw your name come up when you texted earlier. I think you know why I'm messaging." Sarah's fingers flew. "You're with him right now?" "Elena, yes. And I'm sorry. I didn't know he was lying to you until tonight. He told me you two had an arrangement. Separate lives, open thing. I believed him because I wanted to. But I saw your text and I can't do this anymore." Sarah felt the room tilt. An arrangement. Mark had told this woman they had an open marriage. The lie was so outrageous it almost made her laugh. She typed, "There's no arrangement. We're monogamous. He's been lying to both of us." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Elena, I'm ending it tonight. I thought you should know the truth from me, not just what you might have seen. I'm sorry, Sarah. Truly." The messages stopped. Sarah sat in the dark, wine untouched, until headlights swept across the windows at 11:12. Mark came in quietly, hanging his coat, kicking off his shoes. "Hey, babe," he whispered, assuming she was asleep on the couch. "You awake?" She turned on the lamp. He froze when he saw her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, voice careful. Sarah held up her phone. "Elena texted me." The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "Sarah." "Don't," she said quietly. "Don't lie again. She told me everything. The hotel. The stories you made up about us. All of it." He sank into the armchair across from her, head in his hands. For a long minute, the only sound was Milo's soft snoring from his bed in the corner. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," Mark said finally. His voice was hoarse. "It started as flirting. Stupid. Harmless. Then, I don't know. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in a long time. Work was crazy, we were both exhausted, and Elena, she listened. She made me feel exciting again." Sarah's eyes burned, but she refused to cry. "And you thought inventing an open marriage was the way to keep it going?" He looked up, stricken. "I panicked. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't want to stop either. I know how awful that sounds." "It sounds like someone I don't recognize," she said. They talked until dawn. He told her everything. How it began at a team retreat, late drinks, a kiss he swore he regretted instantly until he didn't. How it became a pattern of stolen hours and secret texts. How he'd convinced himself he could compartmentalize, that it wouldn't touch their real life. Sarah listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said, "I need space. Real space. Not the kind you asked for to take your calls." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "Whatever you need." She slept in the guest room that night. The next day, she packed a bag and went to her sister's house 2 hours away. Mark didn't fight it. He texted only once, "I'll be here when you're ready to talk. Or if you never are. I'm so sorry." The weeks that followed were a blur of grief and anger and strange, hollow calm. Sarah walked the beach near her sister's cottage every morning, letting the wind numb her face. She designed nothing, cooked nothing elaborate, spoke only when necessary. At night she replayed their life together, the good years, the laughter, the plans they'd made for kids, for travel, for growing old in the city they both loved. One afternoon Elena emailed her. Not to justify, she wrote, but to apologize again and to say she'd transferred to the company's Chicago office. She was gone. Sarah didn't reply, but the knowledge settled something inside her. On Christmas Eve, Sarah drove home. The apartment was spotless, Mark's doing. He'd left a note on the counter, "Staying at my brother's tonight. Take all the time you need." There was a small pine tree in the corner, decorated exactly the way she liked. White lights, no tinsel. Milo greeted her with frantic joy. She sat on the couch and cried for the first time since that night. Not for the betrayal alone, but for the life that had cracked open beneath her feet. Mark came back the next morning. They drank coffee at the kitchen table like strangers who once knew everything about each other. "I've started therapy," he said quietly. "Individual. And I'll do couples if you ever want. No pressure. I want to understand why I risked everything for something so fleeting." Sarah studied him. The man she'd loved was still there, older now, eyes ringed with sleepless nights. But something essential had shifted. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she said. "I don't know if I want to try." He nodded. "I know." They separated quietly in the new year. No dramatic fights, no lawyers shouting. Just papers signed and belongings divided. Sarah kept the apartment and Milo. Mark moved to a studio across town. Some nights she still woke reaching for him out of habit. Some mornings she felt relief, so sharp it scared her. Trust, she learned, wasn't a single thing you gave or withdrew. It was 1,000 small threads, and once cut, they didn't simply knot back together. A year later, on a rainy Thursday much like the one that changed everything, Sarah ran into Mark at the farmer's market. He was thinner, Hair longer. He smiled cautiously. Hey, he said. Hey. They talked about safe things. Milo's arthritis. The new cafe on the corner. When they parted, he said, I'm glad you look happy. She almost said she wasn't, not entirely. Instead, she said, I'm getting there. She walked home through the drizzle, groceries heavy in her arms, heart lighter than it had been in a long time. The closed doors were open now, even if they led to separate rooms.